Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'd like to take a look at some fun deck ideas for the CU Cup in Trainer Trials. So what is the CU Cup? It's a new Trainer Trial format that will last 2 weeks after GLC is over. It is Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, and Sun and Moon, with a max rarity being uncommon. So I'd say it's more similar to the Silver Series than it is to GLC, really. And to be honest, it seems pretty balanced, though Dusknoir could be a menace still with Budyu. Those cards are very much still around. However, cards like Monkey Dory are not in this format, so at least it will be quite different in that sense. Also not mentioned in this video, again, is of course United Wings, which could be a popular choice because all the United Wings Pokemon are common or uncommons. So, just pretty cool, and I'd imagine United Wings could end up being quite popular along with Mad Party, just because people seem to really like those decks. But the first idea is going to be Wugtrio, and to be honest, I think if you're going to make Wugtrio work in any of these formats, it may as well be this one, because I think in the Silver Series, yeah, Wugtrio was decent, but you were kind of reliant on reverse energy. But in this format, you have access to Glimwood Tangle, which will allow you to basically ignore all your coin flips if they were tails and just reflip them all, which I think is great. You also have access to triple acceleration energy, which will pay for the attack cost, although you will have to discard it at the end of your turn. So overall, I just think Wugtrio is probably in a really good spot for this format, and you even have things like Level Ball actually to find Wugtrios. So yeah, definitely a good shout if you want to try and make this Pokemon work, really. Next up, though, is my personal favorite on this list, which is going to be Breloom and Mareep. Now, Breloom has the attack Bredawn Strike, which does 30 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, this attack does 90 more. So only a 120, but you can take advantage of the fact your opponent's active Pokemon will be asleep. And Mareep has the very cute ability Fluffy Pillow, which just says once in your turn, if it's in the active spot, then you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. So you can use things like a skateboard or even air balloon, which would give you -2 retreat. And then, once you've put them to sleep, you could just then free retreat Mareep into Breloom and then swing for 120. You can also use things like Grant to boost up your damage by +30 if you really want to. There's also like Leon for another +30 if you really wanted. Like Kukui is also another +20 modifier. So plenty of ways of adding damage, but just something to consider if you want a nice, cheap, easy to play sort of deck. Will it be very competitive? I have no idea, to be honest, but I just thought it was a really fun idea. And I had a lot of fun with this as a budget deck back in the Sun and Moon era, so it'd be nice to try this one out again. Next up is probably one of the scarier decks in this format, and that is going to be Lunatone and Solrock. Probably one of the more oppressive decks in this format, I'd imagine. This is going to be very popular. Lunatone has the attack of Moon Kinesis, which for 3 colors does 30 base and then 30 more for each psychic energy attached to this Pokemon. And Solrock says once in your turn, you may attach a psychic energy card from your discard pile to one of your Lunatone. So very scary combo, very easy to get set up with cards like Level Ball and Fog Crystal. Also got Pokestop for some turbo consistency, as well as the more recent card Night Stretcher, which could just be great in this deck to retrieve additional energy, as well as any Pokemon that get KO'd. So yep, I have a lot of faith in Lunatone Solrock. I definitely think it's going to be this format's version of like Roaring Moon, I guess, like the Ancient Box deck from Silver Series. So yeah, very powerful basic deck. Not really big and tanky though, like fairly low HP, but still quite a potent deck and very consistent overall. So yeah, quite scary one. Then we have Festival Lead. We kind of have to talk about this deck, which I know this was like the best deck in Silver Series. Like I think we can probably all agree it was. It was just very, very good, very consistent. The 2 prize a turn thing was lethal. And yeah, there was like some pseudo counters. I noticed like towards the end of Silver Series, there was things like Duraludon popping up with like Magearna to try and like resist grass and like out tank you a bit. So that was kind of cool to see. But I do think Festival Lead will still be a very prominent player in this format, especially without all those big like rare Pokemon and things like Monkey Dory as well. So yeah, I do think Festival Lead will be quite terrifying in this format. And really, if you just want easy wins, then Festival Lead is, yeah, very, 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 very scary. Like, this one is also a really, really good deck, but I'd imagine Festival Lead probably just beats it out slightly because of that 2 prize turn thing. So yeah, Dipplin, very, very scary deck. Then we have Durant Mill for all of you control mill lovers out there. Devour basically just says for each of your Durant in play, you get to discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So if you have 4 Durant, you get to mill 4 every single turn. Lovely. Cursed Shovel also extends that to +2 every time this Durant gets KO'd. So yeah, milling 6, very, very fun. And you can use things like Twin Energy or Double Colorless, which weren't legal in GLC, but they will be legal for this format. So you can just put them on Durant, basically have 8 copies of energy that you can just slap on and do Devour every single turn. And if you want an alternate win condition, you could use this Spiritomb, which has the ability Cursed Whirlpool, which says as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat. So it's basically just Snorlax, but a lot less HP and also not a rare. So yeah, you have that retreat lock option. You could also just run Maractus if you really wanted to, but Maractus, will damage its attacker. So just be careful. You might just want to trap something and not damage it. So Spiritomb would be your go-to Pokemon for that. So yeah, Durant Mill looks to be quite a disgusting deck, to be honest, to play against, and probably a lot better than Wugtrio as well, but still fun decks all around. Then we have some tool drops. Now, Garbodor, Doublade, and Pachirisu. Honestly, I wouldn't try running these in the same deck. I just want to check 5, 6, 7. All right, yeah. For some reason, I got really confused there, but yeah. Okay, back on track. Garbodor, Doublade, and Pachirisu. What I was saying before that is, I wouldn't imagine you would play all of these in the same deck. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but you're probably better off just building around one of these 3. So I think Pachirisu is maybe the safest option, just because you can use things like Flaffy to accelerate energy to it, as well as electric generators, and use things like Electropower to modify your damage. But Dual Blade is also really good, 30 damage for each Pokemon tool card. It's the same as Wind Up Thunder, but it is a metal typing, you have slightly more HP, and you can also do it for double colors. So your attack cost is already taken care of with double colors energy and twin energy, which is really cool. And then Garbodor is a higher modifier, but you're discarding tool cards from your hand. So you're doing 50 damage for each one. So you will have to run things like 4 copies of Town Store, probably, all the best tool cards, things like Air Balloon and stuff, Poison Barb. So yeah, Garbodor could honestly be a lot of fun in this format as well. Would expect to see a decent amount of play. I would honestly be down for trying out one of these. Maybe not Dual Blade, but Garbodor for sure, I think. Just because it's a more recent Pokemon, and Garbodor is always a win in my book. So yeah, pretty cool. Then we have Gulp Missile, which is a bit of a fun deck, actually. It was a meme deck in the Sword and Shield era. But it could be quite scary in this format, to be honest. Continuous Gulp Missile says discard any number of Arrokuda from your bench, and you do 60 damage for each Arrokuda you discarded in this way. So if you discard 4 Arrokuda, you're going to do 240 damage, which is, that's quite a lot of damage for a single price Pokemon to be doing. Then you have things like Night Stretcher or even Rescue Stretcher from the Sun and Moon era, just to recover Arrokudos continuously. You have things like Guzma and Hala, which will allow you to find Pokemon tool cards, special energies, and a stadium. So you'll be able to find things like, any kind of tool card really that could help. But also things like, Twin Energy, Double Colors. Twin Energy and Double Colors have cropped a lot in this video already, but yeah, very, very good cards in this format. But yeah, Guzma and Hala, definitely quite a useful card here. But yeah, Cramorant honestly seems like a very simple, easy to play, kind of scary, big, basic meme deck. So yeah, kind of cool in that sense. Next up is we have Accelgor, definitely a more recent deck. You might have seen this one already, covered by some YouTube channels. It's like an actual standard deck. Personally, I don't think it's quite good enough for standard right now, but it's certainly in this kind of format, it's a lot scarier. Poison Ploy basically just does confusion and poison, and then you get to switch it into something like a Maractus, for example. So yeah, 70 damage, plus the poison, plus whatever they decide to do. So if they attack into Maractus, they could take another 60. If they attack into Accelgor and you have Vengeful Punch, they could take another 40 that way. So yeah, pretty easy to set up as well with things like Turffield Stadium, as well as, what's it called? The Bug Catcher set, the item one that let you find grass Pokemon from the top 7 cards of your deck. So seems like a very easy, straightforward deck to build and play. Seems like a lot of fun overall, to be honest. Next up, though, is we have the Hitmonchan combo, which is quite a fun multi-piece. Now, I was going to put the Pikachu clone version of this, because that was more recent, but I did think this was, fun and deserved a shout out. So Hitmonchan has the attack Hit and Run, which just does 30 damage, and then you can switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. And then Hitmonlee has the attack special combo, which you can only use if you used Hit and Run last turn. So you have to do these one after the other. And then Hitmonlee does 90 damage snipe to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then Hitmontop is the finisher. So you can only use this after you've used special combo, which remember you can only use after you've used hit and run. So it's a very long sequence, but Hitmontop does 60 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So a very devastating spread move in this format where there's a lot of low HP Pokemon like Dipplin, for example. But the thing is, Manaphy is also legal in this format, so I'd imagine there's a lot of bench protection that's very splashable in every deck. So you do have to worry about Manaphy, but if your opponent's not running Manaphy for whatever reason, then this combo could be really fun. And this applies to all of the spread decks, like Mesprit and stuff. So yeah, seems like a lot of fun, to be honest. Also can take advantage of all the fighting type support in Soul and Shield and Sun and Moon, so that's really cool as well. Then in last place, we have Vikavolt, which it doesn't get too many points for creativity, but I do like Vikavolt a lot as a deck. So I'm kind of biased in this one. I'm aware of that. Like, I talk about Vikavolt whenever I get a chance to, but Circuit Cannon is a very powerful attack. It does 120 damage and then 80 more damage for each of your bench Charger Bug. So just one Charger Bug on the bench lets you do 200. Like, that must be appealing to some people, right? For 2 Lightning Energy, it's a fairly beefy stage 2 as well, 160 HP. You could even use the item Electro Power to just modify your damage by plus 30. So you can just do 150 whenever you don't have a Charger Bug on the bench. Or, to do 230 against really, really big Pokemon. So honestly, yeah, seems like a lot of fun. Quite a scary card overall. I think you can also hit for weakness on Dreadnought, but I'm not sure about that one actually. Dreadnought might also just be a rare, and I'm getting it mixed up with other Pokemon. But yeah, it could be a lot of fun, to be honest. Like, yeah, you probably don't have such a fun time against Dipplin, but aside from that, I do think Vikavolt at least has some potential in this format. But yeah, thanks for watching. Just got 2 more ideas thrown out here. Crobat was in the Silver Series video, so I didn't think it deserved its own slide again, but it is indeed an uncommon, so, pretty decent uncommon stage 2 deck right there. Also got this Clefairy from Lost Origin, which is a very, very fun budget deck back in the day, actually, where you just play 4 Clefairy and loads of switches, and you basically just get Wonderstorm set up immediately. So yeah, quite a fun deck. Very, very fun donk potential as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about these deck ideas down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.